So this came from our subreddit.
Can I ask a quick synopsis of what you think the prescription is for society today for men? In a short version, what do you think they should do to be successful with women?
To be successful with women, okay, are we talking about like getting a girl for a long-term relationship, just to get laid? What are we talking about?
Well, I think the only reason should be for a long-term relationship and marriage. I mean, that's Jesus Christ founded it, but I'm just curious what your prescription is.
Well, I've talked about this. I think guys have to have certain things in place, right, before they want to get into a long-term relationship. It's 5 things. So I would say 100K per year, 6 figures a year, 6 months to 1 year of savings, be in good shape, have at least 50 partners, right, sexual body count. You could go ahead and engage with what I've said so far.
So the reason I asked that is I've watched almost every single podcast you ever did for about 1.5 years. So much so that I bought into a lot of the things that you said. And for about 2 years, it led me astray and significantly damaged my personal life, including relationships.
How did it lead you astray?
Well, you told me to go sleep with a bunch of women and date multiple women at the same time, which I did. And it significantly damaged my life. And it wasn't until I actually turned around and started listening to Jesus Christ that I was saved.
Never thought I'd hear people clapping for Jesus Christ on a college campus. Okay. Jesus isn't toxic at all. He's a blessing. You better watch yourself. You're fucking blasphemous. He's not toxic at all. What you're trying to do, okay, if you got to hate on Jesus, do it on your own time. That's allowed on this channel.
Now I'm happily married. I have one child now with another one on the way, and I've never felt happier. But I felt...
Congratulations, that's good. That's really good.
Thank you. And I know you're not against that, but my concern is what you're saying to men leads them astray, because I'm a walking example of it. And I think you're significantly damaging people, and especially you're leading people away from morality. Women are not sex objects. Women are created in the image of God, and they are valuable. And they should be treated as such. Why should God give you one of his children if you don't even know how to treat them? So I think...
Okay, Pastor. Yo, preach. Yo, move aside, dude.
For you said you got out there dating and meeting women and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and then you said that it kind of hurt you.
Yeah.
How did it hurt you specifically?
Well, I started warring against my own flesh. It's like trying to fill an empty void. There's a God-shaped vacuum in the heart of every man that can only be filled by God alone. Anything else you try to fill with that's not going to satisfy it. And I tried to do it with sex.
Would it be fair? How'd you meet your wife?
We actually had the #1 dating podcast in North and South Carolina called Who Hurt You Podcast.
Okay.
And I'm also friends with Fresh. I know him very well. I texted him before I came here.
Yeah.
And I know pretty much everyone on your crew. But I was a heavy follower, and you actually inspired me to start the podcast, and I realized what I was doing was wrong.
Yeah, so would it be fair to say that when you went through that experience, you were able to identify characteristics that you probably found as unredeemable and you probably wouldn't want to commit to, right?
In what way?
Well, when you were seeing these women, right, you probably started seeing patterns in how they behave, how they speak, or whatever. Maybe they're not qualified to be a wife. Because the thing is, right?
Well, I don't need that. I have the Bible for that. It tells me what to look for.
Yeah, but the thing is that you were able, and again, you're probably not going to notice it, but when you dated and dealt with all these women, you probably were able to identify characteristics that you were not fond of, or characteristics that would make a woman not a good candidate for a long-term relationship. And I think half the game is figuring out which girls don't qualify for marriage versus which ones that do. And clearly you learned a skill set on how to become attractive and get women, and then you're able to identify the things that you like versus the things that you don't like, and that only comes a lot of times with experience. Now look, if a guy can go ahead and find a woman as a virgin and be attractive and be able to understand how to navigate that, that's great in modern times, but the reality is a lot of guys don't. And I mean, even in your success story, you had to go through a lot of bad women to be able to identify your current wife as the one. So failures are good.
Okay, so I guess he's attributing the success this man has in his life right now to going through some of the stuff Myron told. Okay, interesting. So that means like I could just tell someone to do some kind of stupid fucking struggle that has nothing to do with them getting married. If they go through it and get married afterwards, I can take credit and be like, because you followed what I did, that's $5,000 to get on my yacht. A woman who's marriageable and all this other stuff. But you gotta sleep with 50 women. 50 people. If every man out here slept with 50 women, nobody would be able to marry one because you would say they're all horse. And it's your fault. Just with 50 women, you would turn every single one of them into the kind of women you complain about. And subscribe to it, but it doesn't make sense how this can be a movement for men, but literally the average man will never be represented. Or the other one I like too is like, this is a movement for men. Fantastic. You have to get to 6 figures or else you shouldn't get married. Most people are never going to touch 6 figures. That's like, you didn't give people a gun, you told them how to use it and where to use it and who to use it on. That's very, very different.
Here's the other thing,
I'm
too,
trying
that
let
you got to
know
understand.
What happens when you speak to people and tell them to do these things.
Here's the other thing, too. Like, now you're operating with 20/20 hindsight. You went through it. You experienced
Correct.
it. You
That's
know.
true.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work.
And that's how you end up with kids out of wedlock. That's how you end up with STDs. That's how you end up with crazy people stalking you or causing drama. That's how you end up hurting a lot of things. People say it's 20/20 hindsight, but there's also survivorship bias. What about all the dudes who now really can't get their finances in order because they're related with either women they got pregnant or other issues that they got from this stuff? So this is there's 2 things, right? I just described the short term. It doesn't also speak to the long-term implications of it. Yeah, you know, one thing that they talk about sometimes in the red pill is the pair bonding stuff. Like the more people you sleep with, the harder it is for you to commit, right? And it's always interesting because you hear that, but it's like, what's really behind that? And what's really behind that isn't actually the behavior itself, but what leads to the behavior. Meaning, the problems that people have who try to have high body counts are the same problems that were going to stop you from being in a good relationship. You don't see the value in a relationship, 1. 2, you're very, very impulsive. 3, you're just pretty much led by... So when you feel something down here, you need to act. That's how it kind of works out. These are behaviors that are going to make it very hard for you to sustain anything. Why? Because you're always going to be looking for something else afterwards. Why? Because the comfort of a relationship is not as exciting as the impulse of something new or fresh or, you know, the urge. So when people go down this road and they're indulging all the time and they're spending time left, right, and center, you're doing a lot more damage than just sleep with people and kids and all this stuff. You're spending time away from the things that matter. Less invested in your family, you're invested less in your friendships, you're more invested in a lot of the wrong things because why? That stuff is always going to be more appealing. It's always at the forefront. And it becomes a never-ending hole, pun intended, because if you're into this stuff, there's never enough, right? If you're always thinking about variety, there's an unlimited amount of flavors. It comes in different heights, different hair colors, different levels of freakiness. It never ends. And so what you end up realizing is you go through a couple things and then you're like, all right, what's the next one? The next one. And then you've done most of it and then you're doing reruns. And it's becoming emptier and emptier, but you can't even stop it because it's not even a conscious think anymore. It's an urge. It's an urge and a habit. It's almost like when you see somebody who's like addicted to sugar. And it's like they go to the grocery store and they just start throwing stuff in their cart. They don't even really think about it anymore. They want to get off it. They don't even know how because it's everywhere around you. Every time you go to a store, they got sweets right by the door. Every time it's the same thing. When you got your Instagram set up a certain type of way, when you're at specific events, when you're hanging around people who always have girls over, it's really like picking up a girl off the shelf and then just taking it. Or, you know, we have Uber Eats. Oh, you could Uber you who did the whole casual thing. They ended up getting STDs at some point. Every single one. They all ended up with a near baby mama situation or whatever it might be. So the more you play this game, the more you frivolously try to do it for your own selfish reasons, the more you're going to hurt people, the more you're going to bring on that kind of bad energy to yourself in the long run.
A lot of guys need to get their hand burned sometimes to figure out how things work. Because let's be
Why?
honest, men are very stubborn.
Why do they need to do that? If they find a God-fearing woman, they wouldn't do half the stuff you're talking about.
Well, here's the thing. Finding a God-fearing woman in today's day and age is a lot harder said than done, right? So
I did it
here and understand that you basically got a loaded gun and shot yourself in the foot and you're trying
Correct.
to blame me for it.
No, I'm not blaming you. Like I said, I take accountability.
Yeah.
There's a big difference there.
Okay.
But look, nothing against you. Like I said, I've hung out with Fresh 8 or 9 times recently. I love them, and I think your heart is in the right place. But I just wanted to give you from someone that actually listened to what you were saying to do, read your book, and it didn't work. That's all I was trying to do for you.
Well, actually, it did. You didn't notice it yet.
So all you guys out there who got married and didn't have 50 bodies, supposedly it's magic. Yeah, but even if it is a lost case, it doesn't really matter because it's not about convincing that person. Whether they're an idiot or not is irrelevant. What matters is what kind of influence do they exert. You know, I mean, like I said, if you can get 100 dudes to fly all over the world, pay $5,000 to be on a boat with other dudes and they're straight, that's impressive. Right? You can make them dance in one of the gayest circles I've ever seen in my life. I don't really care about the argument whether they agree or not. I think what's important is recognizing that this is a reflection of how a lot of young people are looking for answers. And when they get online, there's a lot of different schools, right? There's the school of this like goofy red pill stuff. There's the school of Jesus Christ. You know, there's a school of figure it out yourself and kind of walk through it. There's a lot of different avenues, but the truth is people are looking for answers. And when they're looking for answers, they might get swept up in this. And when they get swept up in it, it's important that we just put real disclaimers. You know, the same way when you go to the store and it says, hey, you may have toxic chemicals in this, eat at your own discretion. There's a lot of false advertising with how this is presented, right? The actual negative downsides of it aren't presented. Jokes aside, I think the financial gatekeeping for this stuff is also interesting to me because, I don't know, maybe I'm just on my end, but I feel like wouldn't it be better to start off at a middle point where you guys aren't 100% established, know each other before the money ever. But the point I'm making is that these people often worry about gold diggers or women who are after them for their money, but they only want to meet them after they get all their money. Do you know what I'm saying? Like it seems counterintuitive to me. It's like, if that's what your real concern is, why don't you meet somebody who really loves you for you? And I don't know a single man who's done the whole player thing long term and then came out of it and then went on to tell me that they had, I'm good. I got a stable relationship now and we've been going on 25 years and there's no, like, you are damaging yourself. And you are damaging the people you meet. And then afterwards, you want to say it's society's fault because people are fucked up. I'm going to go and fuck up people. That's essentially what's happening. And I know this because I grew up with the red pill before it was the red pill. I grew up with pick-up artists. Everything you're seeing from the red pill today, all this corny shit that you're seeing, this shit existed way back then. When I would watch Keys to the VIP, when I would watch a lot of these guys on their forums talk about this stuff, go look up the same people who started these movements way back when. If they're not dead, a lot of them still live with their parents. A lot of them are still trying to live the same lifestyle, but they look disgusting at 50, trying to run through nightclubs. It's like, damn. So this is the end outcome of the truth? Is I'm in the club at 50 looking goofy? Or I have nobody with me and my kids are living somewhere else? I'll pass. So just be mindful that if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And look at every guy who talks like this. And look at where they are in their 40s and 50s. And it's just like, you want to be Donovan Sharp? You want to be Rollo Tomasi? Yelling at random people online at the age of 50 when you should be with your grandkids? You look goofy as hell. So that's just the thing. That's just something I was thinking. Anything else? All right, let us know what y'all think in the comments.